Next game on the list, we have Houston -3 according to Bovada at Tampa Bay. Very interesting game because Tampa Bay is now without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, both listed as questionable, but neither one of them are going to play by the end of the season. It just doesn't make any sense. Houston needs this win. They've taken control of the division, but the last thing they want to do is drop a stupid game to Tampa and then have to win. Although I will say they hold the advantage in the tiebreaker with the division format, so they have a pretty good stronghold on that division. So let's see here. Houston doesn't want to lose and then risk Tennessee, although they play New Orleans this weekend, so that's not good sledding for them either. Let me just talk about points scored here. Houston scores 24 points per game, good enough for 10th in the league, but they're even better when Will Fuller plays. We'll talk about that in a bit. They give up 23.6, not great, 19th. Tampa Bay scores 29.7, which is nice, but they give up 28.4, not so nice. That's 30th in the league. So Deshaun Watson obviously is a start. I'm looking across the board. Carlos Hyde is a maybe. I'm away from Duke Johnson this week, but I love Will Fuller. I love DeAndre Hopkins. Both of them are starts, and I've been saying on this show for a while when I've been talking about Houston, this team is a different team when Will Fuller's in. I went back to find stats just to back that up. They are 7-2 when Will Fuller plays a full game. 7-2. You look at Will Fuller's stats. He's dynamic in those games, although he only has 3 touchdowns, and they all came in one game. He really just blows the top off the defenses. He opens things up underneath. Yeah, I know Kenny Stills got some touchdowns. Those are really based on Will Fuller's influence last week, though. So I'm a big believer in both Hopkins and Fuller. I'm staying away from everybody else except for maybe Fells if you're desperate at tight end. For Tampa Bay, I think Winston is worth a start just because this offense. I think Ronald Jones does well enough to warrant a start this week. Now, what's going to happen at wide receiver with those 2 studs out? I'm going to guess that Perriman is going to draw the number 1 coverage from Houston, but I do think he's definitely worth a start, Mr. Perriman, and available on a lot of people's waivers out there. And then as for, let's see, the second receiver there, maybe Scotty Miller, but I still think that, I'll repeat what I said last week, I think O.J. Howard's going to be having more of an impact in this offense. I mean, think about this. O.J. Howard, he's going to be trade bait around draft time. It's good for him to put some good film, on tape there for everybody out there. So I think O.J. Howard is going to take a step forward. I think he'll be used as trade bait because they're certainly not using him, and he's kind of wasting away in Tampa Bay. Plus, they have Braid anyway, though I don't know the contract situation. So there you go. In terms of the bet, by the way, let's see. I like Houston. Brad likes Tampa. Brad and I both like Houston, and my Rocco pot likes Tampa Bay. Although with the injuries at wide receiver, I'm going to just basically null and void that projection because it still thinks Chris Godwin's playing. It hasn't accumulated new data yet for the wide receivers.